chocolate cake. And this is a very special cake for me. I think you'll like it a lot. Some of you have been requesting chocolate cake, and I've been saving this recipe back for a long time. And partly the reason is at the beginning of last year I made a red velvet cake, which is a version of chocolate cake, and I didn't want to follow it up very quickly with chocolate cake. And I've also made chocolate cobbler, I've made brownies, I've made brownie pudding, I've done some volcano cakes and lava cakes and a lot of things with chocolate. So I wanted a little space between those and this very special chocolate cake. So you'll have to wade through to the end to find out what's special about it, but we'll get started with the cake part, which will be a 3-layer cake. And the very first thing I have to do is make a chocolate sauce here, and I have 1 cup of boiling water. I just took this off the stove, measured it right before I started talking, so it's at the boiling point. I'm adding 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. So here is the item that I've chosen, using the brand that you want. It needs to be cocoa powder, 3/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. So gently put that in, and then to this we're going to add some butter. So we have our salted butter, and I have 2 tablespoons. It does not have to be salted, and this is at room temperature, so it's nice and soft. And what we're going to do is stir this together. Now this just took seconds, but I didn't want to waste your time, and it gives you a nice chocolate sauce. I can smell it, the aroma is coming up. It's going to be wonderful to add into this cake later on. But the first thing we really put in the mixing bowl is some sugar. So I have granulated sugar here. We have 2 cups measured out, and we're going to put those 2 cups into our mixing bowl. Put it in slowly so it doesn't choke you when the spray from that comes up. 2 cups. Next thing I have is self-rising flour, 2 cups of that. Now some of you will want to use all-purpose flour. That's fine. All you need to do is for each cup of all-purpose flour, add 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon salt. And that will convert it into self-rising flour. But what I have is self-rising, and we're adding 2 cups. So these are our dry ingredients, and we would like to have them mixed properly, so I'm going to lower this and lock it into place. And then we'll just let that mix a little bit. You can see that my dry mixture is very well mixed. You don't want any clumps or lumps in there. In fact, some of you probably use cake flour. That's a good idea, but I normally just use the self-rising flour. It's a personal choice. Next thing is, remember that chocolate sauce we made? We're going to put that in. So might as well just pour that in. So that's our chocolate sauce. And then also we are adding some butter. It's the same salted butter like I had earlier. This is 1 stick, which is 1/2 cup, and it is softened. You really don't want to be mixing this if it's just straight from the refrigerator, because it would have such lumps that you would never be able to incorporate it into your batter. But try to get all of that in, and then we will go back down with the mixer and just start giving this a whirl. I think this is good enough, so I'm turning that off and bringing this back up. It's a nice brownie-like texture because it's so chocolatey. I think you're really going to love this cake. Next, we have eggs, jumbo eggs. They don't have to be that large, but you need 2 eggs. So 2 eggs of whatever variety you choose. Just put those into your mixture. Also, you need buttermilk. And most of you know I don't keep buttermilk on hand because we don't drink it as a drink. And occasionally I have a recipe that uses it, and I just use regular milk, the amount I need, in this case 1/2 cup, and then add whatever this container says that we need. And this is a buttermilk mixture, and I will need 2 tablespoons of this mixture for 1/2 cup of milk, and that will turn it into pretty good buttermilk. If you'd rather use lemon juice, then for each cup of milk you put 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So for a 1/2 cup you'd need 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice. That would work too. But get your buttermilk of some sort in there. And there's a little residue on the bottom there from my mixture. I'm going to scrape that out and put it in there. And then I have one more ingredient, and this is vanilla extract. And we have 1 teaspoon ready to go. We're going to put that in. And then we need to blend all of this around. So let me get my spoon out and my measuring spoon. We'll put these over in the pan. Put this down and lock it. And here we go. And just give it a gentle mix. And then we're going to beat it for 2 minutes. So I'll have to go away and get that done. I'll come back when it's beaten. The mixing together of this cake is quite simple, as you saw. And what you're going to get is a nice satiny color of chocolate. And it's just really a wonderful blend. And what we have to do at this point is divide it into thirds and put it in 3 cake pans. Now you should prepare these ahead of time so you don't let this sit for a long time, because the ingredients in there will be working and rising and doing things that you don't want until you put them in the oven. And I'd like to tell you what I've done in preparation here. I wanted to make sure these would come out properly. If you have a cake that sticks to the bottom, then it's probably going to be a failure for you because you can never put it together. So what I've done is use butter and go around the bottom and the side, and then I've taken flour and sprinkled over that and just got it into place like this. And also, you can probably see right here, I have a circle of wax paper. And I went over that with butter and flour. So it's definitely going to come out of the pan, because when it's done, and after I get it cooled a few minutes, then we'll go around with a knife here, and when we pop this out, that wax paper will come, and we'll just peel it off. It will be a very nice finish to the cake. So I'm going to start dipping and then pouring eventually, but I can sort of keep it even if I take a large spoon and just dip into one, and then the second one, and the third one, and just keep repeating, and let it get smaller if it needs to, but just an equal amount in each one. And then I always kind of make a little indentation in the top, because cakes have a tendency to rise up and make a peak. To avoid that, or to counteract that, if you'll just scoop out a little, maybe you can avoid it. We'll see. But I'll go away and get these apportioned, and then they will go into a 350-degree oven and bake 25 minutes or so. But I will test them. I'll start testing a little early, and I'll use a toothpick. When it comes out clean, they're done. And I'll show you the result after maybe they've cooled a little bit and what we would do from there. So we're ready to frost our cake. And here's one layer. You'll notice it's a very thin layer. I made this cake using 8 3/4 inch cake pans. And this makes a very pretty cake because it has so much icing to go in between those layers. But if you like a taller cake, use an 8-inch pan and you'll have a little bit taller cake, and you'll still have those layers. It just will be a higher mountain of cake. So let's just dip in to our frosting, and our plan here is to go between the layers and on top. And here is our chocolate cake with never fail icing. And you can bring out a few of those peaks if you want to. We've gotten our cake to this point, and I do want to emphasize that this is a cake of 3 layers, but the layers are not huge layers. If you want that, what you can do is double the recipe and put more in your cake pans if you're using the larger diameter cake pans like mine were 8 3/4 inches. If you use the smaller ones, they'll automatically be taller layers. But I did this intentionally because there's more to come. There's more going on top of this. So we have kind of alternating cake, icing, cake icing. But now we're going to have a chocolate icing that goes over all of this. So it builds up the height of it anyway. So I wanted to get all of that in one cake without it being this tall. So I hope you understand my reasoning there, and I hope you'll enjoy this icing that's coming up, and we'll be putting it on this cake in a few minutes.